Wanted to share a quick thought I had today as my growth is expanding, and yours maybe as well, because a lot of the things I learn, I share. And the thing I want to ask you is, are you afraid of a price? Have you experienced being afraid of a price? On your journey to growth and expansion, have you felt a reaction to a price? And as you're focusing on creating more success in your life, you probably have a comfort zone of how much things cost. But what if, when life brings you something at a greater rate, greater cost, greater price, that's something you normally want, but the price pushes you back? Is that life giving you an opportunity to shift your frame? Life is always responding to you. Because if you have a reaction to a price that something is beyond you, then you are therefore in a frame where it's beyond you. And this is regardless or not. If you make the decision to invest or purchase that product or whatever that service is. But how is the reaction coming up? Because what if that reaction is actually an indicator of misalignment? And what if the opportunity to live in a world where things are at higher price points is the opening of a new world for you, which is really an opening of a new frequency for you? That's what I've experienced. And my story started with a boat hoist. You guys in the Mindset Academy have heard that story. But in the past 3 weeks, I first had an opportunity to buy this boat hoist, which I was like, okay, well, I wanted the parking space for the boat, and it had a hoist in it. And a boat hoist is this like thing that floats in the water, and you turn on a button, it fills with air, and it lifts your boat out of the water. So when you're storing your boat at the lake, it doesn't have to sit in the water all the time. And I wanted the slip. I wanted the opportunity because I know we've been boating, and we got a boat that we like, and I started thinking about a bigger boat because we're on a bigger lake, and our little boat, we're getting bounced around too much. And the parking space that I have right now isn't big enough to fit a bigger boat. So I was looking at, hey, that'd be cool to get a bigger space to park the boat in. And the opportunity came up with, hey, here's a slip. And a slip, if you're not familiar, is a parking space for a boat at a marina. It's a 28-foot space that I could put the boat in, which is great because I can start looking for new boats. I'm not in a rush to do that. But if I had a space for the boat, I could look for new boats, and when one comes up, I have a big space to put it because the space I have right now that fits my 20-foot boat won't fit any larger boat than that. So I said this opportunity to get a slip, but the only caveat is that this slip had a hydro hoist in it, a 10,000-pound hydro hoist, which means you could put a 10,000-pound boat in there and this thing will lift it up. My boat at the time was only 2,000 pounds. So I have this hydro hoist, and I kind of knew that I should take advantage of it. I knew I should take advantage of it. And I'm like, this is interesting. Why should I take advantage of the hydro hoist? I don't need that right now. Well, we just moved to Texas, and being on Lake Travis is a good idea. And having this long term, I can see myself eventually having it. But why is that opportunity coming up for me right now? I talked to some other people in the area, and they're like, you got the opportunity for a slip? Because apparently getting a slip around here right now is a 2 to 3 year waiting list to get a slip. So I'm like, that sounds like life is bringing me something. That life is bringing me an opportunity. Life is bringing me an opportunity to get a space for this boat, a slip. So I'm like, nah, I'll pass it up. And the day goes by and I forget it. And then I start to feel like I'm missing something, like I'm missing out. So then I start playing with the idea, okay, well, I'll get the slip. We'll get the slip. And I don't think I need it, but it was exciting. And I was following that excitement. And I was following the excitement to get the slip. So I reached out. I'm like, how much is the slip? They're like, it's $10,000. I was like, oh, I don't need it that bad. And then I ignored it again. And a couple days later, it came up again. Should I get the slip? And all of a sudden, it was like, well, yeah, I should get it. Why? Because life is bringing me these pieces together to elevate me. Because I'm working on bigger and bigger, longer-term goals. And what life is bringing me right now is an opportunity to get what I wanted. It's just bringing it to me faster than I was expecting it. And the price point of it was higher than I wanted to expend. I could afford it, But did I want to? It felt like out of reach. It felt like it was moving too fast. So then I sat with it a little bit more. And then I was like, wait a second. Do I want it? Yeah, I do. And then I can get a bigger boat, and we can do a boat, and we can try wake surfing if we get a wake surf boat or whatever we do. I'm like, yeah, and it started getting exciting. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I texted the guy. I'm like, sent him an email and said, I'll take it. Will we take $8,500? And I thought I was undercutting it. He replies, it's yours. I'm like, okay. I bought it at Boat Hoist. Find out a day later, oh, and by the way, it needs to be flipped around because the boat was on it before, was back in, and you needed a ship for your boat, so it's going to cost $1,000 to get that work done. I'm like, oh. So now it's a $9,500 Boat Hoist. And then I'm sleeping, like the next night. I was excited. I go to bed. I wake up in the middle of the night. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm like, what am I doing? I just bought like a $9,500 parking space for my boat. And I'm writing this book, and then all this other doubt started to come up. I'm writing this book. Nobody's going to read it. I'm changing the price on the Mindset Academy. It's not going to make any more money. I'm doing a live event that's going to basically be full of my employees and my team, and that's it, because nobody's going to show up. And I went through all of this doubt, and it's like 2 a.m, and I can't go back to sleep. And I'm sitting here going, oh, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? And then I remember a conversation I had with another coach on the team. His name is Ben Austin. He's an amazing coach. I had a conversation with him. And he actually said to me during that conversation, he said, it's not about you. He said, it's not about you. And it didn't actually resonate at that time. Well, it did. And it was a slightly different context, but my subconscious mind, based on my frame, because I was in a frame where life is always happening for me. So my subconscious mind threw that back at me. I'm sitting there in bed at 2 a.m, trying to go back to sleep, worrying about this hydro hoist that I just committed to buying and all these events and growth, because JDC is literally, we're putting on a big giant event. We're doing all these new things. And I'm like, what if we screw up? What if this is too much? And then Ben's voice popped into my head and said, it's not about you. And I realized in that moment, I was focusing on my experience of life as opposed to focusing on my life experience. Because if I think about my life, the story of my life, and the growth I've been going through, and the acceleration I've been going through, and the JDC exploding, if I think about the story of my life, would it make sense that when it takes 3 years to get a boat parking space, I get one, and not only do I get one with the #1 hoist manufacturer that's ready to go and it's used, so it's a good deal, and would save me $5,000 if I were to buy a new one? Does it make sense that my life would bring me that opportunity, and at the same time I would scale into all these other new services that would generate a lot of additional income to start making it happen? And I'm like, well, yeah, as part of my story of life, that's a cool story. It makes perfect sense. There's an explosion here. You get a boat thing, which is fun, that you like, and that whole process creates this. And then you do a 10X mindset, and you do a live event, and then a live event, you do an integration experience, and like all of this expansion. And it made perfect sense for me. So the second I stopped focusing on my experience of life and I started focusing on my life experience, all of my emotions I'm having to that process disappeared instantly. And that's when I realized that this boat hoist, because also, let me back up. What happened over the past 3 weeks, actually it's probably 2 weeks, is I created a 10X mindset program. And it's the highest price thing I've charged. So it's an opportunity for the business to generate much more income for my time than it done before. I've also created an integration experience for after the live event. Me, a handful of my coaches are going to sit in a room for 20 people, and we're going to, after we do the live event, we're going to create radical transformation, individualize all of that in a 3-day transformation experience. And it's really exciting to me because I've been in experiences like that as a participant in the past, and I've loved it. So not only did this process lead me to something that was greater than I thought it would be, it led me to 2 new services for JDC that I know within 12 months will each be 2 new 7-figure revenue streams to the business. And what I wanted to share with you is that this whole process, with the end result of 2 new revenue streams to the business that have 7-figure potential each, that'll probably be tracking towards 7 figures, each of those, essentially tripling the business revenue. All of that came up in the past 2 weeks. And all of that came up because I bought the Boat Hoist. Because if I wouldn't have bought the Boat Hoist, I wouldn't have worried about what I spent. And if I wouldn't have worried about what I spent, I wouldn't have looked for new opportunities, for more income opportunities. So literally, all of this growth and expansion that's going to reward the business, it's going to reward me and impact all the clients who get to participate in these new services. All of that started is because Jason, what could appear selfishly desiring a boat hoist to park his boat in that he didn't have, is a part of the process. So it just shows when you're guided and you follow your guidance, and when you follow your path, that's when the magic happens. And the thing that's a part of your path is never the thing that you would expect it to be. I never would expect that the way I tripled business was to go buy a parking space for my boat. So my question to you is, where is your boat hoist? Where's your boat hoist? Don't be afraid of a price. Don't fear a dollar amount. You're an infinite being, for God's sakes. What if that right there, life is bringing you the opportunity to level up your game where that price is no longer an issue? Think about that.